Okay, guys, I'm going to go live in 1 minute, okay? So the first 3 minutes is only me talking, just getting everybody to ready and they're logging in and all this and stuff. I will kickstart at 11, introducing the event first, then housekeeping, then the speaker. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's live talk show. We are going to start in 3 minutes. I understand that a number of people are just logged in, and we have received a few calls that are asking for password, this and that. This is normal for virtual talk show or webinar today. Again, for those who just logged in, we are going to kickstart in a couple of minutes while waiting for all the attendees to sign in, join us. And I do hope you just enjoyed the video just now. Now, today we are going to focus on a number of areas, and in particularly on risk management for modern network. We will talk about data. We will talk about Security Operations Center. We will talk about SIM. We will talk about current business environments with two very senior cybersecurity professionals. So again, I'm not going to start first. I'll just wait another couple of minutes while everyone's just logging in to join us. For those who just joined us, if you could just at the chat box and just say hello to me. My name is Jeffrey Tay. I will be your host today. Then I know that you're here and you're not aboard. Hello, Lin Feng. Hello, Teddy. Hello, Joanne. Hello, Zaki. Welcome. I see someone give me a high five. I'm giving a high five back. Good morning, Robert. Morning, Maurice. Don't be shy. In order for this particular session to be highly interactive, we like your participation. Just even say hi or ask any questions. That would be great. Good morning, Lai. Morning, Chewy. I'm not sure if I pronounce your name right. Good morning, Raul. Thank you to give me the clap. I can see more and more people are joining in now. Again, without further ado, I think I'm going to kickstart this particular show. Now, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's virtual chat titled Unified Event Correlation and Risk Management for Modern Networks. We're going to really define what modern networks, and for some of you may basically thinking that, oh, I'm using legacy network. Is this going to be relevant to me? Absolutely. Okay. My name is Jeffrey Tay. Prior to the COVID-19, I host a series of cyber attack event in Asia Pacific. I'm also your host today for this live talk show, which is brought to you by T-Systems and Fortinet. Now, in this live stream talk show, Fortinet security experts will discuss how to collect and analyze activity from data, email, endpoint server, cloud workloads, and network. We are in the studio today, and I hope that to run this event or this particular session as interactive as possible, I would like everyone to ask as many questions as possible, or even just say hello in the chat box. That would create a lot more lively talk show. We also will explore how T-Systems Security Operations Center team enable threat detections, investigation, and respond to threat on a 24/7 basis. Now, majority of the attendee that we invited today to view this live talk show, this is live, are all IT security professional, and some of you are CISO, CIO, and head of cybersecurity as well. Let's just brought to our main screen so that you can see our presenter today, because I'm going to talk about our presenter. There you are, these two handsome gentlemen, so you can see them here. On my left, I'm not sure which screen are you using, or on your right, we will see Ricky Ng, the Regional Director, Cybersecurity for T-Systems Singapore, a global IT service provider, T-Systems. Ricky is a senior IT professional with more than 20 years in the IT industry, coupled with operational, technical, and commercial experiences. He's responsible for business development and growth of the cybersecurity business in T-Systems South Asia, or Asia South. Now, Wong Chin Ping is on your left or right, is on my left at the moment, from Fortinet, responsible for security fabric business in the Southeast Asia and Hong Kong region for Fortinet. I've been working with Chin Ping for a few shows now, and I'm familiar with your expertise. Again, Chin Ping is the go-to person if you have a lot of cybersecurity issue, in particularly working with large organizations providing right now, I believe, remote working solutions. And you being very popular with that particular topic as well, Chin Ping. Now, please join me in welcoming Wong Chin Ping from Fortinet and Ricky Ng, Regional Director for Cybersecurity at T-Systems Singapore. Give them a warm welcome applause. Okay. They are in the studio today, so they're live. They are not basically sitting at home Zoom. As Singapore number of COVID-19 infections are coming down, we're slowly opening up and getting people to be on screens, still practicing social distancing. Instead of they're sitting at home chatting to you over the computer screen, they're now in a studio. So first of all, let's just go to a business first. Ricky, Chin Ping, I understand that you've been working with organization in Singapore since the COVID-19. And since COVID-19's, I think, March lockdown till now is a long time. It feels like a long time. It is a long time. A lot of businesses are struggling. A lot of businesses are affected by cybersecurity. When you talk to CISO and CIO, what do you think their challenges is, and how do you think what improvement do they want to see? Let's just go to Ricky first.
Okay, yeah. So it has been a long COVID period. Okay. Right now, I mean, since the start of the circuit breaker itself, I think a lot of organizations are very concerned how should they carry on their business itself. So one of the key concerns is since a lot of their employees cannot go back to the office, they have to work from home. So in that respect itself, they need to grapple with the issue with how do I provide secure access to my employees so that they can still conduct their normal work itself securely, remotely at home itself. Second thing is also how do I protect my employees who are working from home in terms of secure, so-called to ensure that connectivity back to the corporate network is secure. Okay, so these are the two key aspects from the so-called the employee side. Okay, when we talk about the business, okay, I mean, unfortunately, during this COVID period, a lot of so-called the usual brick and mortar business model doesn't work anymore. You have to find ways how to quickly move your business online, okay, so that your customers are still able to access to your services or product itself. And I mean, good or bad itself, with this so-called, I mean, what the COVID helps in this scenario is it actually pushed a lot of organizations to basically double or triple speed up their digitization effort itself. Okay, and with digital effort itself, a lot more things are being moved online itself on the public, a lot of cases into the public cloud itself. In that respect, I mean, the whole attack surface has become very wide. Okay, so various solutions or various considerations have to take care of how do I secure all this load, how do I provide so-called secure access for my employee, for my customer, all the stuff. So that's what I see during this COVID period has changed. Yeah.
Okay, the huge transformation into digital. What about you, Chin Ping?
Yeah, I agree very much with what Ricky has said. I'd just like to add on to the point that maybe to simplify things, three things. First one is scaling it with connectivity. So Ricky was mentioning about secured connectivity. I would like to also add one more that you know, I've also talked to some customers. One of the biggest challenge at that time when all this circuit breaker, MCO, what have you, right, happened was how to get devices to the staff, because many of them would have been using workstations in the office. Now they got to be home. You can't bring the workstations home. I heard, you know, some were running for laptops, right, to be issued to the staff, or is BYOD an option or not? So this part of it, the hygiene part of things has to be done, and at the same time, many would be considering the security part of things. I believe majority of the companies, well, at least those that I've talked to, do have some form of remote access for their staff. But the question is how many of them, right? I think the typical numbers, less than 50% get remote access. From those that I talked to, when it comes to multi-factor or two-factor authentication, a big majority do not have it. Maybe because the risk level, when you give to lesser number of people, is lower. But now that you're trying to give remote access, right, to maybe 80% or upwards of your work staff, then the risk level increases. The number of hours people stay connected remotely increases. So again, that's an increase in risk level. At the end of the day, it's a relook at how this whole infrastructure is done, how you scale it up. And finally, the services. And that's only for internal, right? Because the IT teams itself, you need to service your end users. So how are you going to ensure that you get that IT services down to your end users? They are no longer across the building or downstairs, upstairs. You know, they are in many of the countries that I speak to, they are maybe in another city, right? So that's another challenge, the management part of things. Yep.
Okay, great. No, I mean, you're right. In terms of, I think before COVID-19, digital transformation or moving the legacy system into a modern network is a lot of, I think, IT departments' tasks or some sort of things that they need to do. However, during this particular COVID, it actually pushes them or accelerated this particular process. And some even say that, you know, they thought they have deployed this particular mechanism, but when it comes to realizations that their system is not that modern after all, and a lot of things are still not in cloud, or they're basically still using the old legacy system. Now, this comes to it is that while we basically managing and during COVID-19, there is a lot of scattered data. This data could store in anywhere. Whether they already basically adopt cloud or not, it could be anywhere. Now, Ricky, I understand that T-Systems provide cybersecurity operations center and also manage cybersecurity services. The most important thing that I believe that when you work with client is to have what we call valuable data. But the problem is, you know, the questions always come to you is that how do I convert data such as logs, packets, policy, activity, configuration, etc. That's a lot, okay? And not just that, across all various layers and across different functions, tools they are using into real actionable intelligence. So how do we do that? Ricky?
Okay, yeah. That's pretty, I would say, getting data together is pretty easy, okay? I think one of the key platform you need, or key solution you need to have in your organization is, or if a service provider like us, is the SIEM platform, okay, SIEM, okay. With the SIEM platform, you are basically able to collate all data, okay, be it from the endpoint, from the servers, or your network devices, or even from your cloud, to a centralized repository in the SIEM itself, whereby you can do correlation analysis, okay, to detect any foreign so-called activities or transaction itself. And what T-Systems is able to bring on board itself, we have our knowledge from various industries itself. We developed our own detection, security detection scenario itself, where we are able to map with all those data coming, whether are they security, is there any security threat that's happening right now? Okay, if there is, what is the, I mean, it provides those information for the analysis to decide what is the next course of action to mitigate the issue. Yeah.
Okay, great. Chin Peng, let's just go back to what you just say. With, you know, people working in various regions, remote working, etc., and that sort of thing. I mean, that is going to continue. In fact, maybe good news for you, because a lot of us organizations are now cutting down on expensive building, renting, and the staff are no longer able to travel, at least until next year. They save a lot of money on travel and rent. They could spend a lot of money on security. The most important thing is, how do we monitor risk and stop threat at the same time managing access control. Not only that, how do we respond quickly to suspicious and confirmed incident while people are working from home or remote working?
Wow.
Jinping?
Yes, that is a very wide topic itself, right? When we are talking about remote access, like I mentioned earlier, connectivity is the key. So once you're in, okay, I should say before you're in, you want to authenticate itself. I would roughly put it under a framework called zero trust. Zero trust access itself, we are talking about first who you are, and then what you are accessing with, and the last one actually is a continuous assessment of whether you've changed, right? For that matter. So authentication and authorization would be probably a first step. That's the connectivity or the secure connectivity that we've been talking about right earlier. Then when you're in the old school of or the previous school of thought, I would say, is that once you're within the perimeter, within the company itself, you have access. You are kind of okay, you know, accepted person. But in zero trust, we kind of would make sure that we give you access only to where you are allowed to, right? Based on your privilege, based on your maybe your job function. So micro segmentation itself comes in, and that's where it's also important to know that, okay, what you are accessing with. I will give you an example. I talked about BYOD just now, and that's also company assets. Maybe if you are accessing the network with your own device, you get a certain kind of privilege. But if you are using a company asset, I'm safer, I know what you have, you get a larger access. That could be it. And lastly, continuous assessment of what you are or who you are. That would come back to, again, how you're going to react, right? Because all these systems, I've talked about a few things here, right? I've talked about the endpoint. You probably have some VPN access, endpoint protection, the gateway itself, and you have a mechanism behind, be it the authentication server or the network access control, all trying to ascertain whether you are who you are what you are. Right? So all this information comes in, and back to what Ricky mentioned about collecting all these logs, right? So this has to be fed back to some brains, and if things changes, situation changes, then you can be able to, I would say, react faster to it.
Okay, but the problem is that most remote worker or people work from home, they're using home router. And what are the risks from that then?
Yes, definitely, and that is why we've been talking about using security posture check. Home router, think of it as this, even before the pandemic happened, right? We've got people who are working from home, maybe at night. You've got people working from cafes, from airport, or hotels. So this, I think, from a zero trust perspective, we shouldn't trust all these networks, right? So what's the thing that you can control and you can have visibility of? That would be the endpoint and the device itself. So one of the ways we would advocate is that before you've authorized the person, you can come into the network, but I want to make sure that the device that you have is what I've sanctioned, or maybe you've got antivirus turned on, up to a patch to a certain level, your operating system is patched, then you are good to come. Right. So that's the part.
So it's actually, there is a lot of elements to it. It's not just one or two things. So Ricky, I mean, in these situations, your team able to look at, what the organization needs in order to really secure, their system, their workforce in current situation?
Yeah, I think pretty much what Jinping has mentioned. I mean, a lot of policy need to be in place itself. I mean, what is a so-called approved device? Okay, approved device, maybe first thing, it must be a registered device with the company. Okay, it must be a device which has a latest patch, or even to the details like, does it has an antivirus or endpoint protection turned on? Okay, so this is the point where, from the device perspective, it has to be approved before you can access to the corporate network itself. And all these activities can be then monitored by the SOC team itself to ensure that whether is there any unauthorized device accessing the corporate network. So that's one aspect.
Okay, no problem. There are before we come to this particular live talk show, we have collect a lot of questions, and these questions, a lot of things deal with identity and data awareness. Now, identity and data awareness are two most critical assets of any organization and its user. And most of the head of IT that I talk to, that we call that conduct researches, they're not worried about their system. They know their system are secure, and they're worried about the user, okay, and identity of their client as well. So again, identity can be stolen and passwords are easily cracked, and we know these are the two factors. Okay, so how do we work with organizations to implement zero trust, which Chin Peng just talked about a little bit, and how do we, at the same time, manage the entire life cycle internal user, where onboarding now are all done virtually? We don't even know that is the real person or not. How do we ensure that newly on board or work from home colleague or remote working colleague network is safe? You guys touch base a little bit on that. Can we just basically round up the summary before I move to the next segment? Ricky?
Okay. So basically, that's what the first thing. Technology helps in the so-called enforcement itself. Okay, but you need to have process to manage the so-called the onboarding. Okay, for example, solution like identity access management, they can take care for the organization when a staff is onboarded. Okay, so starting from when he joined the company itself. Okay, there's various form of authentication or verification whether is this the right person who is going to be onboarded to the company. I mean, whether by a physical IC where they can do a snapshot, or through so-called two-form authentication itself. So once it's onboarded itself, the next step that what identity access management can help you is to provide the so-called access privilege to the users for his job function. Okay, and another advantage of identity management itself, it also can help the organization to provision his access to the various apps that he has allowed to be accessing. Okay, in a lot of organizations, you can find that once a person left, there are bound to be some application that is forgotten that his user account is still alive there. Yeah. So with this whole identity access management solution itself, you are able to manage the whole life cycle of the user in the organization. Okay, to ensure that.
So Ricky, what you're saying that T-System able to detect, or at least your team able to detect, actually no one has been using this access for a long time, or this basically
Correct.
authentication, or this user.
Yeah.
So it could be someone already left.
Correct. So basically, information from the IAM itself, the logs itself, being shipped to the SOC team itself. They can look at what activities happening there. It's not just that this guy has left, even to a certain extent that I can even detect if this person is accessing the network at some odd time or at some so-called unknown location, which is not usual. So these are anomalies that the SOC can actually detect. Yeah.
Okay, so you study the behavior as well for the user, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next segment then. Okay. Now, apart from the normal system that the staff are using, because of what we talk about today is risk management on modern network, and one of the modern network is SaaS application. Organization try to digitize, try to what we call the term urbanization. They build a lot of software really to ensure their clients can access their service seamlessly. But how do we detect and respond to threat that can impact custom-built SaaS application? Chin Peng?
Okay, so if you're talking about custom-built applications, I would look at it as this, Ricky has mentioned earlier, this is part of that whole digitalization process that an organization has to go through. So if in a B2C market, then I would say the business itself who's built this application has to be mindful of the application that is built, where the potential vulnerabilities would be, and protect them. Some examples, we've been working with digital banks and all that, right? It's how you protect your infrastructure. Chances are these guys would be hosted in the cloud, and you've got to have the usual stuff, right? Firewalls and all that. But also you've got applications or web applications that's behind it, and those has to be protected as well, on top of regular checks. So if very simply put, right, I think there's three things to it. It goes back to the old adage of people, process, and technology. While we can provide the technologies itself to protect whatever that you have, processes has to be there. In terms of development process, I would say in this case, right, when you're developing apps, next version coming out and all that, just got to make sure that they are secured. What's the process for you to make sure that they are secured before you roll it out? And finally, the people, right? You got to be aware that what they're doing, yes, it's bringing good to the company, being good to the customers themselves, but they got to make sure that they handle the security or the regulatory part of things, if there is.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask here now, because like I say, we have 50 odd, I think about 60 people now joining us. I know most of you guys are IT security experts, so feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat box, or put in the message box here. I will try to grill our two experts today. Now, let's move on to SOCs. Now, Ricky, is that true that most SOCs can only provide monitoring of data you send them? And sometimes they don't even know what data to send you. So if so, what data should I provide to you if I'm going to use your security operations center? And how do I build maturity around it?
As I mentioned earlier, I think in terms of data for security operation monitoring, the more the better, put that way. So essentially, because the threat appears everywhere, whether it's on the end user client itself, or on a server, or on your firewall, or your network, literally everywhere. So you need to get, in fact, all the data into the SOC itself, where basically the team can correlate those information to form some actionable so-called intelligence. Okay, this first part. Second part is on the area of what I mentioned earlier, the content engineering, where the guys need to basically optimize the data that's coming in, make some fine-tuning on the, for example, frequency of that event happening before it's considered a threat. So these are the so-called the content engineering that we do to actually fine-tune the data that's coming in. Third part, being the unknown, okay? What the SOC can do is basically can take IOC from threat intelligence itself. Okay, from a threat intelligence, you can actually scan so-called the enterprise network to see whether any, for any particular IOC, does that threat happens within the organization. Okay, so this is not lost from the company, but threat intelligence that's coming from the open so-called industry, very commercial or so-called specific feed that we can use to actually cross-check whether do we have such risk happening within the organization itself. Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. A couple of days ago, I spoke to a CISO. They mentioned about security operations center, the managed security service provider, etc. So in your how should I experience when you do work with clients or onboarding clients that are going to use your SOX services? What are the usual challenges that a client face, and what are the things that they should work with you in order to have a seamless or smooth transitions of passing on their old SOX to you, if they have one?
Typical
Sorry, I have to ask you all this.
Yeah. So the typical challenge here sometimes is about how do they send these logs to us itself. Okay, whether the appropriate so-called log information is already correctly configured, because first thing is in a log itself, again back to my earlier response, it needs to be the appropriate log. Okay, if you send everything literally what the server is saying, you may be receiving a lot of garbages. So that needs to be fine-tuned. So there's a part where sometimes the customer are not familiar. Okay, so during the initial project phase where we do onboarding or logs itself, we work together with customer to actually fine-tune what kind of logs to be sent to the SOC itself. Yeah.
Okay. So it's all basically to make sure that they are giving you the right data. But at the same time, just now you say that as many as possible, but also the same that you will be able to identify what is the positive and what is false positive before they really basically kickstart the whole initiative. Is that right?
Correct. As many as possible, but the correct data. That's the challenge. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a challenge, because a lot of people will not be able to correlate what is the correct data, what is not. Right.
That's why a lot of organizations can go by themselves to set their own SIM or own SOC itself. But again, the most critical in the SOC operation is your people. Do you have the right people who have the experience to know what needs to be, what logs to be taken in, or what log not to? Yeah. So that's the part that still, there's a lot of talk about AI, human intelligence, machine learning itself. Yes, that do help a bit, but again, we still can't negate the needs for human intelligence, put away. Yeah.
Good. Chin Peng, this is for you. Okay. So let's talk about co-managed SIM. Okay. Since that, for example, if let's say, since I have set up all the alerts, correlation rule, build a maturity around it, and we're already using the same report for compliance purposes, do I need to switch SIMs, or can it be integrated? Would direct log source takes weeks. So I think this is where you work with T-System a lot to manage this client, right? Yeah, the SIMs stuff.
Yeah. So of course, my main I would say I would wish that everything can be migrated over. But just let me give you a very simple example, right, of a SIM itself, or I would say a security operations. Yeah. The SIM itself basically is just a technology. A very good analogy would be a F1 car or E1 car, right? You have the best car. If you give me a F1 car and then you give the race car driver that, who is going to win the race? Right? It's the expertise behind it. And you want to give the expertise, the expert, the vehicle that he wants, right? So in this sense, I would say if you want to onboard into a managed SOC service, probably that transition will be there, but eventually you should want to migrate everything over to whatever platform that they're using. Why? Because they've got that car, they've got the drivers and the whole team behind, right? Remember the pit stop and all that, right? Who are able to make the best use of whatever technology that they've adopted.
So what you're saying that if I want to basically win this cybersecurity race, I don't need my team. I can just use your team and you just make it happen for us. Is that what it is? Okay.
I think it's a co-managed thing, right?
Yep, absolutely. Now, joke aside,
the responsibility, but not the accounting.
End of the day, I would say is still is a joint effort with the customer itself. I mean, outsourcing to a managed service provider, yes, majority of issue can be handled by the MSP itself, but it still needs a lot of collaboration with the customer to ensure things are handled quickly and precisely in organization, because it's not about you are transferring the risk out to a MSP. In a way you are, but not 100%. Okay, we still need to work with customers itself to basically maybe recommend changes to their policy, okay, to improve their whole cybersecurity posture itself. Okay, even what we do is when we run this so-called the regular review with our customer, we sometimes also recommend to customer, yes, we detect something, but I think you are lacking in terms of some mitigation measure on, for example, the end client. You do not have a endpoint protection. So these are things that we actually collaborate, and we actually give ongoing so-called recommendation to customer. How can they improve their overall cybersecurity posture itself? Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, either I'm asking all the questions that you want to ask, or I am so good that you don't want to ask questions. One or the other. I do encourage, like I say, to ensure this particular session as interactive as possible. Please do feel free to ask as many questions so that we can actually, be able to interact with our presenter today. Now, come back to it, Ricky and also Chin Ping. Both of you were just mentioned about talent, manpower. So one of the biggest benefits I know that using managed service provider or security service provider is that organization can free up their team to work on other things. However, again, given the alerts, come back to all this data again, they could still be chasing down false positive. How can we prevent this? Ricky or Chin Ping?
False positive will always be there. Okay, it's a matter how much is it. Okay, whether are you able to keep it to the minimum. So that's why the people resources is very important. That's one thing. The second thing also about automation. Okay, sometimes some of the alerts you could actually automate to do some basic check before you qualify it as a legitimate alert itself or offense. Yeah. So I would say there's no such thing as zero false positive. There is always false positive itself, but the challenge is to basically manage it. So for T-Systems itself, I mean, we're operating the SOC service for the last 20 years across different industry. Okay, so we know what kind of so-called baseline in each industry for certain so-called transaction is. So this is being applied to all our customers itself. And for us as well, also when there is an attack on one of our customers itself, once that issue is resolved, the mitigation measure is then applies to all our customer, so that if the same attack do happen to our other customer, okay, we already have the protection mechanism already in place. Yeah.
Okay, Chin Ping, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think absolutely. You brought up a good point about humans and all that. I think end of the day it goes back to the productivity of the SOC team itself, right? So as part of a managed service provider, then you have seen more. As Ricky has pointed out, whatever you encountered here can be applied there. And I think that's one of the key strengths, and that is also why we are seeing a trend in the market for businesses to kind of start considering or have even migrated to managed service providers in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I read somewhere, maybe you guys can comment on that. This is my last segment now. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is your last chance. Anyway, I already encourage people to ask questions. Maybe I'm that good that, cover most of things that we want to talk about today. obviously, before we come to the show, I did a lot of research on hybrid AI, artificial intelligence, with human-assist machine learning. Now, Ricky, is that true that these provide better detections and fewer false positive if we are using these two mechanisms, machine learning and AI?
Yes and no. As I previously mentioned, machine learning or AI, basically it helps you to probably automate some tasks itself. But again, the human is still needed to basically do the final replication. Yeah, AI or I mean, right now I would say right now, maybe not 5 or 10 years down the road. Okay, as of now, I would say AI or machine learning still have a long way to go. They can help to basically identify the threat early, but reducing false positive or stuff, I don't think so they are there yet. I mean, that's my personal view.
Okay, it is still need a team of people to look at what are the false positive and really focus on what are the threat. And you're saying that machine learning are not there yet, not just there yet, because they still need time.
That's correct.
Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Now, what about if I am interested, okay, into just say, look, I mean, I can't with this particular COVID-19 and my team are not working in the office with me, and it's hard to basically manage this particular monitoring thread, all that and stuff. Okay, let's just we decided to outsource, and because also talent is an issue, is hiring talents. Maybe T-Systems snap all of them. I'm joking. Do I need to purchase any hardware or software if we go with you?
So maybe I take that, yeah. We have different model, put away, yeah. There's one model whereby, yes, T-System will provide everything, okay? You basically buy the services from us purely on a money basis itself. The hardware, the software platform, everything is owned by T-System, yeah. So basically you run it as a service from T-System. In another scenario whereby customer wants to own the infra or owns the platform itself, that can be arranged also. I mean, what we do is then the SIM platform, all the respective software services are implemented either on the customer premise or we can even host for them. Okay, and on top of that, our SOC team will then help to manage for the customer. And these are typically in cases where the customer has some concern of they don't want their data to be so-called in some shared infra itself, or they have some data residency issue itself. So they want to have everything so-called in their own premise. Okay. The other thing, the other aspect is some customers want to have continuity, because if we sign up as a services itself, when the contract up, of course, I do not want that to happen. If the customer chose to go with another provider, if you are on a pure service model itself, the whole implementation of your security setup needs to be redo again. Okay, whereby if they own the infra itself, it's basically find another operator to operate that infra that they already have itself. So there are pros and cons itself. The service model is very much well liked by the CFO, because they do not have to invest. It's just a whole thing. It's just an OPEX cost itself for them. Yeah.
Okay, we do have questions. Finally, maybe it's actually coming because we stream live, so things that actually take a couple of minutes to show. Ricky, you are very popular. All the questions to you. No, actually, one question for Chin Peng. From a gentleman called Pankaj Gupta. Pankaj, question is, in current situation, COVID-19, most of the company asked the staff to work from home. Pankaj, I think you're a naughty boy. You wasn't here in early because we're talking about it. So what are the threats you see while working from home? what are the HW, SW? I'm not so sure I understand these acronyms, okay? Should we use to avoid threat? Ricky?
HW, SW are referring to hardware software.
I
So
think so.
I think so.
Pankaj, is it
Okay.
hardware software? That's correct. That's why he said yes.
Yeah. So I think that has mentioned. I mean, for work from home itself, you need to decide what is needed for the employees to have in their home network itself to ensure they have a secure connection back to the corporate network. Okay. In some cases, how do you verify that this is an authorized device if they're using company assets, or even if they are not using company asset, is this device compliant to connect back to the corporate network? And when I talk of compliance, what it means is could be things like, does it have earlier what Jinping said, has the latest patches? Does it has the necessary antivirus or endpoint protection software running? Okay, before they allow to get back. Third thing, then it will be identity. Whether this guys, when they suspect corporate network, are they the person who is who he is claimed to be? Okay, they could be basically addressed by having a two-factor authentication. Yeah. So I would say, I mean, very respect. Then if you access from home network, I mean, there are also other aspects that we will take care for if they are serving using their corporate network, the public internet itself. How are we protecting them from the risk in the public internet in terms of, let's say, phishing attack or even going to roach website itself? How do we protect that? I mean, these are things that, I mean, a web proxy, all the stuff can help to address some of these risks. Yeah.
Okay, we have another questions from Meng Fai, but I'll come back to Meng Fai later. Jinping, a few months ago, we did a webinar together, and we'll talk about, the home internet. Actually, I think I will answer Pankaj's question as well. So, what are the hardware, software should we use to avoid threat? We did a segment on a lot of home router are not safe, and those are the hardware that I believe organization can deploy to make sure that they already start blocking the first threat. Is that right?
Okay, so the home network is a little bit more complicated, right? Well, depending on the person who is working from home. I think from Fortinet's point of view, to provide every employee or every staff with a home router that is secured, I think economically we know that it's not going to happen, right? So general users itself will need to have a secured endpoint from a that's in a way sanctioned by the company, and be able to probably do a posture check, as Ricky just mentioned, right? That's from the software point of view. Do a posture check. What software you've got? Is it secured? The OS, the software, is the OS patched? The software you've got, are they patched as well? Any vulnerabilities? So that handles the software part of things. The hardware part of things, probably only a small portion of your work staff who is at home would be issued with it. Why? Because these are, I would say, number one, administrators or network administrators for your infrastructure, for your network. Then you would want to give them slightly more access into your office network itself. That's number one. The other one is, of course, the executives, right? They can't work from the office. When they're at home, you may want to just set up a home office for them, right? And it's things like printers. I don't know whether you still use fax machines, phones, Wi-Fi, everything, right? And it's protected by a home router that is sanctioned by the business itself, right? So that handles the hardware side of things.
Okay, good. Pankaj also actually have a following questions, but let's just go to Ming Fai first. What is the good percentage for a efficient SOX base on false positive over total alerts? I think Ricky, only you can answer that.
So you're referring to percentage of false positive over the so-called legitimate alerts, right?
That's right, total alert. Yeah.
Okay, it depends. I would say that should be based on our own current experience. That should be kept within the low of 20% of total alerts itself. Okay, but typically in any new clients that we bring on board, 20% is not achieved day one. Okay, this percentage will actually improve once you're into the 3 months or 6 months kinds of operations, because during the first 3 months itself, you are actually doing a lot of baselining, because every organization acts differently. Okay, for example, we have encountered in some clients itself whereby there are, I mean, the amount of so-called relockings may be very high. For example, I mean, in one of the use cases that we use in our ops center itself, we actually monitor how frequent is this guy locking from one station to another station. Okay, we in one scenario with one of the client itself, they have an application which does that itself. So sometimes we need to do a baseline to understand. Okay, this is weird. Discuss with customer to verify whether is this a legitimate so-called scenario. I mean, event itself. If there is, then this is being adjusted in our use case itself. This is the part where I say content engineering play a big part into optimizing all the use case and all the events itself to reduce the amount of false positive. So along the way, once you go 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, the rate will fall below 20%. Yeah, but as I mentioned earlier, it will never be a 0% of false positive. That's not achievable. Yeah.
Appreciate your honesty. Okay, Pankaj is asking, I'm not sure this is a question or anything like that. He says that also, do you see the current service provider provide enough security? But Pankaj, I'm not so sure we can answer that because we're not sure who's your current service provider. I think what he's trying to ask is that, do you think most of the service provider provide enough security? Well, this is very hard to question to answer.
Okay, maybe let me take this. I can't comment whether they are doing enough, but my belief for T-System, what we believe is providing a SOC service is not just about monitoring the events and escalating to customer or taking mitigation measures. Okay, it's also about reviewing those incidents with our customer. That's why in all our so-called SOC customer itself, we actually have a security consultant that is tied into this account. So this security consultant will in some cases we have customers who do weekly review. So they will sit down with the customer to review through all the security incidents itself and also explore ways how can we prevent such incidents from happening again. So this is the proactive part and continuous improvement that we do, not just for ourselves, also join it together with the customer.
Okay, great. Yeah. I think it's basically all tied into what you just said today as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of this particular live talk show. If you still have any questions, please post now. Otherwise, I'm going to make a summary, then we're going to finish up here. Okay. I do hope that your questions are being answered. If you want to reach out to Ricky or Chin Ping, please let us know. We're happy to send you their contact detail, or do connect with them via LinkedIn. So now, to sum it up, any last comments, insight, or knowledge you'd like to share, Chin Ping?
I think we've covered a lot of grounds today. Yeah. So I wanted to say the part on the F1 car, but I said it earlier. But I think it's still true. technology is always there. We've got it, but the processes, you've got to make sure that you've got it correct, and also the people. And people in this case, especially when we're talking about working from home and all that, right? It's not just the IT stuff. Yes, they know how to operate your processes, operate your technology, but your general workers at home need to be security aware as well. So that's something that you may want to consider too, right? Something off the topic.
So from my side, I think basically being a Singaporean here, I mean, we also work very closely with CSA, our cybersecurity agency in Singapore itself. Just now the question by one of the audience about hardware, software, how to ensure they are secure. So CSA actually is currently rolling out a new scheme to help the home consumer. Okay, this scheme is called the Cybersecurity Labeling Scheme itself. So what they're trying to do is to help consumer to be able to procure hardware or even software that have certain level of security, so-called protection for the consumer. So I mean, this is some effort. I mean, this is some of the efforts that CSA in Singapore itself is trying to help the so-called the industry and also the consumer to have a safer so-called online experience. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Ricky and Chin Peng, for your knowledge and also insight. Just before everyone leave today, T-Systems Singapore is offering 3 free complimentary security posture assessments, which encompass of a half-day workshop. If you want to take opportunity with that, please feel free to reach out to. I'm gonna send this email address here so that you can actually reach out to Ricky. If you just want to talk to him about any cybersecurity concern you have, please feel free to reach out to Ricky or Chin Peng here as well. So, sorry, I'm gonna pass it on to everyone. 1 second, don't log out first. Here's Ricky email. Ricky, I'll share your email, so you probably will get a lot of inquiry today. If you want to take advantage of this free security posture assessments, please reach out to Ricky. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and effort, and also for your questions joining today live talk show brought to you by T-System and Fortinet. Until next, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.